It's time for Quarantine Cabaret and Cocktails with Robert Bannon and Lee Lessack.
Hey.
Did I interrupt?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm right in the middle of this chapter of Living in Color, the new Tommy Davidson memoir that's out right now.
Wow.
We
What
love
a
a shameless plug.
coincidence that he's on our show tonight.
What a coincidence! I'm so excited about tonight's show because
I am too. Because
if it's
we need a laugh.
we sure
49 weeks into this disaster, we need a laugh. And we've got it. We've got the cure.
Can I just say, I had the most fun making these little sizzle reels we make because getting to see Tommy Davidson and Bruce Vilanch do material and go through the archives of moments from Hollywood Squares to In Living Color. I have to shout out my brother. This is the only show my brother has ever watched us do.
You're kidding.
Because of Tommy Davidson. Because when we were kids, we would watch Juana Man on Saturdays when my mom would go to work, and he says filet mignon, little piece of meat, pink in the middle, and my brother will say it to this day. It's been 30 years, almost know however long it's been to this day.
Love it. I love it.
Filet mignon, how do you like it? How do you like it? That's from my brother. You'll see the clip.
I love it. That's brilliant.
And I saw Bruce Vilanch's documentary. So I've just been living in the world of Bruce and Tommy all week.
It's not a bad world to live in.
No.
Have you had a good week? I know you got stuck in a traffic jam today and you barely made it to the show.
I went to throw out boxes because I got a new kitchen table, and I went to the DPW, which apparently no one knows if you're not from Jersey. But that's like the
Public Works.
Yes, the garbage men. And there's an accident.
Jersey, but I figured it out.
And there was an accident, and in true New Jersey style, it took an hour and 40 minutes.
Of course. Of course. But it's all
How was
good.
Yes. How about you?
My week was good. Yeah, my week was good, I have to say. You know, we launched our new Broadway cast reunion series last month. And last night we had our Dear Evan Hansen cast reunion, which was so delightful. It was so delightful. The cast has not seen each other in a year, and it was just heartwarming. Jordan Fisher and Christiane Knoll and Jessica Phillips, and oh my God, so many. It was great. It was really, really. It was one of those like pinch me moments. You know what I mean? They were so dear, and it was really sweet to see their interaction, and also just to talk about the show, which is I love that show. The score is incredible. I love the story, and none of them originated these roles, and you know, and so to talk about the process of walking into the footsteps of, you know, a Ben Platt or whatever. It was really great. They were wonderful.
It was a wonderful night. It was a special night for sure.
Yeah, so that was fun. And
Jersey Boys is 2 weeks from yesterday, so we'll be reuniting with the creative team.
And that's going to be a very interesting cast reunion because we don't have any cast members on that one. The producers thought it would be an interesting idea to talk about 15 years of Jersey Boys worldwide. And so we have the two writers, Rick Ellis and Marshall Brickman, and the Tony Award-winning director, Des McAnuff, joining us. And that's going to be really cool. In fact, Rick Ellis sent us a little video I want to share.
Hello, Broadway and environs. I'm Rick Ellis, and like you, this pandemic is killing me. So I'm getting together with my pal Marshall Brickman. We wrote this little show, Jersey Boys, and our maestro, Des McAnuff, the man who put it all together. The three of us are getting together on April 7th, 8 p.m. for the Broadway Cast Reunion Series. We're going to talk 15 years of Jersey Boys. We're going to tell you about a lot of amazing people. We're going to tell you some incredible stories, like the time that Marshall Brickman and I had our lives threatened by the mob if we didn't send new pages from La Jolla to Bloomfield that afternoon. Broadway Cast Reunion Series, April 7th, 8 p.m. of the clock. Brickman, McAnuff, me, you. Be there. Family is everything.
That story is even more Jersey than I am. So
That's true. And you are about as Jersey as they come.
Bloomfield's down the block. So that's the truth.
I love it. I love it. So anyway, tonight we decided after 49 weeks. Can you believe we've been doing this for 49 weeks?
No.
I mean, the craziest thing is when we started this, Robert and I didn't even know we had never met in person.
And now
we had spoken on the phone once.
And now Lee is my life insurance beneficiary.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy, but it has been, thank God for this show because it's given me a focus for 49 weeks and I needed it, and also something creative to do and whatnot. But we just thought after 49 weeks, we need a good laugh. And who else to bring it than the two guests we have tonight? We're going to bring them on one at a time because we've got like a little montage of their career highlights. So we're going to start with Tommy Davidson.
I had a great year. I was on tour with Anita Baker. With all my heart, I love you, baby. Stay right here, and you will see my arms.
You ever been to the square dance? See? Them white people can dance their ass off. Got a fiddle and a banjo. Break it down.
I'm Tupac, man. Oh, you got a problem, brother?
Yeah. You got a problem?
About all that you was talking, man, we can run it right there. Keep your head up. Get around.
I get around. I get around. No. How do you think underground?
No.
I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing. Say you want some dental dam? I got your dental dam. Build your ass a Hoover dam. That's what I'll do. Wipe that ass tonight. It's my turn to do what I do. You shut up and wrap your ass like a hot dog.
Have we decided on dinner, or do you need some more time?
No, don't need more time. Get me. Stymie that. That's when you're going country. Country got you crazy. Hotel 357. The young lady wants a filet mignon. Little hunk of meat, little pink on the inside. Filet mignon. How do you like it? How do you like it?
Nobody messes with the dew.
Hey, Tommy.
What's up?
What's going on?
That was gracious. You guys really reached back for that stuff. That's really cool.
Oh, we have fun. We had a lot of fun looking. I have to tell you, when I turned 18 years old, my birthday, he's going to leave now. He's going to be like, he's a stalker. I wanted, at 18.
And he is.
At 18, I wanted to go to a comedy club. So my aunt and uncle took me to Bananas Comedy Club in Hasbrook Heights, New Jersey, saw Tommy for my 18th birthday. And then after the show, and it's here in my house somewhere, I will send it to you. He signed my Bananas flyer and wished me a happy birthday. And I've kept it forever, ever since then, because
what?
we are fans. We are fans in our household of your work.
I remember that moment. He looked exactly like Ichabod. He looked exactly like Ichabod Crane when he was a kid.
Identical. I did an impersonator show of him, actually.
Oh my God. Brilliant.
Oh, thank you guys, man. I'm glad to be on the show, man.
Those In Living Color days. Oh my, when we were prepping for the show, it really took me back because I loved that show. That made me laugh, and I never missed
thank
an
you guys.
episode. And oh my God, I had forgotten a lot of the characters that you created until we were prepping for this. So good.
Wow. Thank you. I look back at some of that stuff and I'm going, since, we're living now, in real time, I forget how much stuff I did.
Yeah.
It's a body of work.
Yeah. In a world where, a little 9-year-old girl can dance on a rug and get like 1 million hits. You know what I mean? You forget that you entertain so many people for so many years because people get such a fast response from what they do now.
It's true.
I know. It's a crazy this whole this whole virtual social media world is so different. Like Robert and I work like really hard to produce like really great entertaining content, and we have
we have
like 3 followers, and then I post a video of my one golden retriever dragging the other golden retriever by the head across the foyer, and I have 5,000 followers on that.
Right. Exactly. On New Year's, I'll post something really what I think is really profound, and I'll get no comments.
Right.
That's the way it is.
No.
And then I post a picture of these pigs going down this slide into the water, and I'm famous. You know what I mean?
Right. I know. Wow.
Tommy, when did you start doing impressions? Because that's how I found your Sammy Davis Jr. impression. Forget everyone else's. His is the best. And they're when did you start doing them?
Hold on. I lost me.
No, it's okay.
How do I get back? There I go. Okay, don't panic, Tommy.
You're here.
Don't panic. I actually been doing impressions all my life, but I didn't know they were called that. My mom used to, I used to do Al Jarreau and all these different impressions, but I didn't know they were called impressions. So one day she sees me do Al Jarreau and looked at him on TV and going, do that again, But I really still didn't know. Like, it wasn't until I had my first comedy specials out, and In Living Color first started, when a reporter said, "You're great at doing impressions." And I played it off when they said, "Yeah, those are great. Those are great. I do this and I do that and that." I left the interview going, "So those are called impressions, huh?"
And you do a lot.
And you do.
And that Anita Baker from that early special, which you're talking about, you go into Al Jarreau, you go into Michael McDonald.
Right.
You do them all. And of course, Sammy is iconic. So. And
I'll tell you, Robert, and this goes out to your brother, who affectionately, I don't even know him, and I love him, man, because of his dedication towards what you're doing and all the things that he sees. Word is he's locked up in Folsom, California. I saw that on the internet. And I think it grew up. But what I want to do is just kind of dedicate this next couple of moments to you guys and your show. And they say some people long ago were looking for some brand new news, one that they can use like no other. So they tuned in here. Hold on, guys. I got to take it out for a minute. I lost my glasses lens.
Oh my God.
I lost my lens cloth. I didn't say loincloth.
Well, Mazel tov. Thank you. Sean is very excited somewhere right now. So
right?
Thank you so much.
We have so much to talk about. Your book. You have a new book, which is fantastic. Robert's halfway through it.
Thank you. How do you like cover?
I love the cover.
Thank you. We for that cover. We thought that was that would make the consumer go, oh, that's him.
It is.
That's the guy that was on In Living Color and all those things. We got small window to get people's attention. There you go.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There you
Clickbait,
go.
Amazon. You could get it on Amazon, Barnes and Noble. It's your story about your being adopted and growing up, and the show and all the tea. He gives all the tea. He's on Wendy and all the talk shows to give all the tea.
Yeah.
So read the book because it's all in there.
Yeah, that book. Most importantly, that book has my mom in it. And my grandmother, my grandfather, and my family, who really forged me into like this love machine, not even knowing it. I grew up with a white family from Wyoming and was raised in Washington, D.C. And I think the combination of the 70s, the combination of where they're from, and my experience as a Black person in America kind of created this now thing that I am.
Wow.
So people got to a point where people are, now it's in a culture about accepting all these things, but that was a part of who I am. In the 70s as a child, it was, peace was in style. Ecology was in style.
Right.
You don't do things to the environment. Ecology is in style. Being with people of other colors was in style. Like, I came from that generation where everything you looked at had every type of American involved in, whether it was a Netflix, Sonny and Cher, a Coke commercial. That's the way it is. Everybody's holding hands across the nation. It just all was a part of the fabric of what we were, what America was about. No matter how it changed,
Right.
I think we're that generation that came off the tail end of the civil rights movement, the Vietnam War, the women's lib movement, the unions movement. I mean, we came off of all these movements. We came off of all these movements and became the kids that those values were instilled in. I really do believe that.
Yeah. We have two comedy brilliant legends here tonight, Tommy Davidson and Bruce.
Someone else is here.
Bruce is here, and we didn't know when we scheduled this. We didn't know that the two of you adore each other. So we want to have you on together. So sit tight because we're going to bring on Bruce Vilanch.
What do all these stars have in common? They all know Hollywood's best kept secret.
Brucey.
Chances are, when a star needs a little or a lot of help being funny, they'll say two words.
What? You get Bruce.
What should I do?
First, I think you should come out and say, "Good evening, I'm Colin Powell."
The first time I ever saw Bruce, I just sort of went, wow.
You indulge, Bruce, in the sport of kings. What do you enjoy?
Queens.
Every year, my first call is to Bruce.
We meet 10 o'clock in the morning. There's bagels, there's coffee.
He has a great sense of who people are.
I'm very sorry I didn't have to sleep around to win this award.
Wow. What happened to him? Well, he got blind.
Oh my God. How are you?
Ever. I'm great. I was adopted. I didn't know you were adopted. This is a new fact altogether for me. I was adopted by Jews who were, they were looking for a Jewish baby, and they got me and they raised me in the great tradition of. And then when I spit in a cup 100 years later, it came back and it said, "You're a 99.9% East European Jew." And I thought to myself, they weren't lying. They told me the truth. I was shocked. Your parents always lie to you because they want to spare you the awfulness. I was adopted too. But I was brought up in exactly the culture I was meant to be brought up in, I think. Not like you, but what can I tell you? But then I became Whoopi Goldberg later in life. So when we were on squares, and they put me in the square next to her. I was the head writer, and they put me in the square next to her. First of all, she was the star, so she said, "I think Vilanch should host the show," and they thought, "Oh, this bitch is crazy," but it was too early to piss her off, so they tested me to be the host. And, I was just perfect. I was, this one's for the win, Louise. So they went with, somebody more mainstream. But they put me in the square next to her, and I think they thought because we had a relationship that I would tame her somehow. And this didn't happen. And we decided the reason was that she is really a Jewish kid from Jersey, and I am really a black woman. Ask anybody who slept with me; they'll tell you. So we kept swapping these identities. Anyway, they would keep saying to her, "You're too black." They would say to her, and they would say to me, "You're too gay." And we would look at each other like, "What can we do about this?" It is what it is.
Do you guys find that in show business a lot? That's
what
it's like.
I have to say, Whoopi, because she became a big star. I mean, right away, almost right away. You know what I mean? And but there had not been anything like her. I mean, she was at the time. They said she's kind of street, and she had the dreads, and she didn't dress up. And people like Dionne Warwick called her and said, "You're setting black women back 10 years." If they wanted her to be Diane Carroll, because they felt that every black woman had to be glamorous, had to be like the Supremes. And the idea that she was going to be a star who carried a movie and was going to be so unlike what they were trying to put out there in the world as the image of the black woman that they resented. Right. They resented her. She had a lot of trouble at the beginning. But all through her career, they say, "Don't do stuff," and she does it. They said, "Don't do Star Trek. What are you, crazy? You're a movie star." She said, "I like Star Trek." She did it. "Don't do a game show. Don't be the host of The View." The list of things they told her not to do. And she prevails because there's nothing else like her. There's nobody else on the planet like her. I mean, there are some women who came after her who took after her. Nothing. But she remains unique anyway. But enough about her.
I remember.
She's on TV every morning.
I remember.
And Dionne Warwick.
What?
And Bruce.
Yes.
And Bruce. Dionne Warwick brought up because she launched it. Psychic Network and set it up for 20 years. So.
Wait, you broke up on that. I didn't hear it.
Yeah.
Dionne Warwick.
I said Dionne Warwick caught up with her because she launched. Yeah, she launched the Psychic Network and set up back 20 years.
At the time, she was hooked up with a clairvoyant. What was her name? Call me now. I forget what her name was. She was
Cleo.
like
Miss Cleo. Yes,
Miss Cleo.
And
when
Miss Cleo.
She called Whoopi,
oh my God. Right. From the Caribbean.
Not called Whoopi.
From the Caribbean now.
She called me and said, "I've set the movement back 10 years." I said, she should have seen that coming.
That's right.
Have Miss Cleo sitting there opposite with her. Why didn't the bitch fill her in?
Oh my God. I remember seeing Whoopi Goldberg's Broadway one-woman show monologue. And
that was the beginning.
We had never seen anything like that before.
No,
it was brilliant.
That was, that's Mike Nichols. Mike Nichols saw her at a little club in Berkeley and said, "Come to New York."
Bruce and Tommy, did you have you two ever worked together? Have you done anything together?
We have. I forget. We did something. I don't think it went anywhere though. We did something with Kid and Play, didn't we? For Suzanne de Pass, a television thing. Were you involved in that?
Yeah, we did. You remember that? That's crazy. That was in like it was actually in '93.
Something like that. Yeah, it was a long time ago. But I mean,
it was
met
quite some time ago.
along the way.
Yeah, we did it together. Yeah.
In particular, because it was something that was not going to really get off the ground. Although they were funny, and I don't know, it was weird.
They are funny.
But let me speak. let me brag on Bruce for a second. Bruce has got to be one of the most prolific comics in Hollywood because he has no bounds who he works with. I mean, this guy. I mean, he writes for the awards. He knows Susan the past. She's like this powerful woman in Motown. Out here and have him his head right doing this. He's down at the Comedy Store with everybody from, Louis Anderson to Tim Allen, all the people who got big shows and all this. I mean, he's totally on the urban circuit with us. You know what I mean? It's just good to see someone proving wrong that there is no race barriers. There's one green through line. There's one green through line. Entertainment makes money.
For somebody.
Bruce, I was reading some biographical information. Now, I don't know if this is true or not, Bruce, but you let me know. It said, from what I read, that your mom helped you launch your theatrical, showbiz career by getting you signed with Lane Bryant's Charming Chub division as a child model.
Yes. There was Lane Bryant was a store. I don't know if they're still around, but they specialized in fat women. Actually, they didn't call them that, of course. This was before there was plus size. That was unknown. These were just the forgotten woman, they called it. and so, but it was a very like a high-end store. I mean, it wasn't like the Dress Barn.
Right.
It was this was good stuff. And but it was very popular. They had stores all over the place. And I guess they ran out of fat women. There weren't enough. Hard to believe. But they branched out and they got fat children. And it was a pilot program, and I was one of the fat children. We were called Charming Chubs. And then as we were a little older, we were Stylish Stouts. And that didn't last very long. And then, of course, I outgrew it. I became a husky.
Me too.
Neither man nor boy.
Right.
I wear
kind of clothes only worn by Leah Delaria. And my career ended.
He used hands with you.
They didn't have a husky department.
No,
at Lane Bryant.
Oh my God, that is so funny.
Yeah, it wasn't, and there are some. I would love to lay my hands on. There are some very funny ads in magazines and stuff that I had that got lost in the Nichols Canyon flood. There are 3 of them, so I'm not sure which flood it got lost in. But I lived up there for 30 years, and it got swept away the stuff. But they are pretty funny. Carol Lindley was the thin, beautiful girl that your fat kid would get if he would wear Lane Bryant Charming Chubs. So there were lots of meetings, and I asked her about it. I mean, she passed away last year, but and she said, "Yeah, I have so much of that crap from when I was a model. I don't really think I have it, and I burned a lot of it." One night there was a lot of Cointreau, and I just burned everything.
Hysterical. Oh my God.
Well, we want to thank Tommy because I know Tommy's going to run. And
I'm going to get the book.
The book, Living in Color, which is about the most perfect title you can come up with. And if he's doing stand-up, because I know you're doing stand-up during COVID times, but you're still doing it safely, socially distanced. So look for his dates. They're on his Facebook and his website. He's funny.
Thank you
brilliant.
so much.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. Nice to see you again, Bruce. You sweetheart. There's a statistic out. We think that you did Hollywood Squares more than Paul Lynde.
Well, I was 6 years, but he was on a long time. The first part was like 14 years, but he wasn't on it for the whole time. The first Center Square was the hilarious Ernest Borgnine. When I heard that, I thought that's a riot, but then I realized he was doing McHale's Navy then, so there's a reason. But Paul,
now you see what I said. Now you see what I mean. All I got to do is push the button.
Yeah.
All I got to do is push the button for Bruce. He'll take it from there. He went from there. Ernest Borgnine.
That's it.
I mean, you're writing. I love you guys. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you.
Thank
Buy
you,
the
Tommy.
book.
Have a good
Thank
one.
you.
Thank
Buy the
you
book.
so much. Oh
All
my
right.
God.
He was breaking up a lot on this end.
I
So.
know we couldn't. That's the problem.
I think that's an iPhone thing, but it will never be my problem because I'm a droid.
Oh, really?
But yeah, no, I'm on a laptop now, but I don't have any Apple products. Not for any reason. It's just, I go so far back that I learned on dot matrix. I had a DOS computer. I'm an old fart. I got a vaccination 2 years ago. I'm an old fart.
Well, Bruce, I saw you words with Billy or with whoever was hosting, and you'd bring your little laptop and write your jokes sitting there.
Were you? At the night of the show, or just earlier?
Through rehearsals, and you would
I'd bring the laptop, and we'd be adjusting, and then in fact we would write during the show because depending on what happened that the host could joke about, we would sit in the back. But at that point, there wasn't time to type. We would just throw lines at each other, and then say put it in the prompter, and then we'd get into the teleprompter so he would know it. But he knew it. I mean, it was instantly. That kind of keeps the show alive, when there's a host and the host is reacting to stuff that's gone on.
You've been with the Academy Awards for like 25
I did 25 of them. I haven't done it officially in a few years, but I get called all the time because, but they have a lot of talk show hosts who host it, and they bring their writing staff. Their writing staff doesn't necessarily know how to write something for Keanu Reeves to give an award for sound effects editing.
Right.
Nor do they wish to know how to do that, or they wouldn't have the jobs they have. Right. So they'll call me and they'll say, "Would you do this thing or do that thing?" Or somebody will say, "They wrote this for me and I don't like it. Would you play with it?" I don't know what's going to happen this year. There's not going to be a host, and who knows? It's all this year is really ball game. It's really a strange.
Well, I do know that where it started, it's if I'm correct, was you were a writer in Chicago, and you started writing. Was Bette your first big?
She was absolutely, yeah. She was, and she wasn't as big then, but she got big very, very quickly, and people began calling me saying, "Oh, you write for her, I understand." And I was interviewing people. A lot of people would come through Chicago, and I was at the Tribune, and I was writing stories about them, and they began asked me to write for them. So after 5 years of that, I had a whole bunch of people. I was flying back and forth. And the people of the Trib said, you live in Chicago. We publish in Chicago. So you have a choice. And right at that point, Bette's dresser had a brother named Tim Hauser who founded the Manhattan Transfer. And we had put the show together. Bette got them a manager. Bette got them a record deal. And that produced a summer television series out here. So I came out here to do that. And I never really looked back. Well, I looked back to get the animals and bring them. And Bette said to me, "Yeah, you had your bags packed the day I met you." So here I am.
How did you meet her? How did you meet Bette?
She was appearing at a club called Mr. Kelly's, which was a famous club in Chicago where all very hip, this was 1969, 70, a lot of very hip people played. And she was on Broadway in Fiddler on the Roof. She was one of the daughters. And she would go down the street to the Improv and get up and sing in between the comedians. And Bud Friedman, who owned the Improv, signed her as a management client and sent her to Chicago on her vacation to perform at Mr. Kelly's as an opening act. And I saw her, and he said, "If you like her, would you write about her?" And I wrote a review. I said, "She's fabulous," because she was amazing. I'd never seen anything quite like her on stage. And she said, and then I interviewed her, and she said, "That's a very funny article." After she wrote it, after she read it, and said, "You got any lines?" I said, "You're very funny on stage. You should talk more." She said, "Give me some lines." And so that was it. And that was only 50 years ago.
Wow.
It was it, which is amazing because she's 42. But
right. And what was the process for you? What was the process for you? Because you've been, for so many years behind the scenes writing and producing and whatnot, to then go on stage and do Hairspray.
Well, that was it was like going back to something I'd grown up in. I was a child actor. I was never a child star, or this haircut notwithstanding, or I would be in rehab now talking to you. But I'd always acted. I did summer stock. I did lots of musicals. That is my first love, and so it was like I'm back where I always felt at home. So that was amazing. And going to Broadway, which was something I'd always wanted to do, was pretty overwhelming. I mean, and the nice part of it was mine to screw up because the show was a smash hit. Harvey Fierstein had been doing it for 2 years. And I did it for a year on the road, and then I went to Broadway. And Hairspray is the kind of show that, like, even if you're in a lousy mood, when you go on stage and the audience is there to party, right. And you are immediately lifted up, and you can't get off that train. I mean, it's a gift. I used to say, now I understand what Vanessa Redgrave, why she's nuts. If I were playing Medea and had to kill my children and drag the corpses around 8 times a week, I'd be crazy too. I got to go to this party 8 times a week, and it was brilliant, and it pushed an OCD button I didn't realize I had, which was let's see how we can do it tonight, and let's see how they react to this and that and the other thing. I mean, we didn't mess around, but they gave me a section where I could do a little ad-libbing. Initially, it was to cover my breathing after dancing.
Get it.
And there was a whole big publicity thing because for so many years you had a very full beard, and you had to shave your beard to do this role.
On Regis and Kelly. How long ago that was? Regis and Kelly, and Regis's barber came in, and the guy from Little Italy, Vinny, and he cut me, and I was bleeding, and Kelly is looking at me, and I thought, with a look of horror on her face, and I thought Kathy Lee must be standing behind me. And then there was like blood dripping down. I had no idea, but I still have the scar. It's very exotic.
Oh my God.
I have somewhere in there. I have a scar. You have to look.
But you've never grown it back.
No, I haven't grown it back. Enough people told me I look younger, and I live in LA, so younger, I'll take it.
That's all you need. That's all you need.
And I never realized I had all this. I mean, for 32 years, this was the Hitchcock stuff was hidden. But what are you going to do? If somebody said, "We're going out, you're playing Tevye tomorrow," I'd say, "Okay, I'll grow it back." Okay, for that I'll grow it.
How do you work? Like, how do you write? Are you always thinking of things? Do you write things down constantly? Do you have like office hours where you write? Like, how do you write the jokes?
I'm not terribly disciplined. I mean, I respond to whatever I'm working on. If there's something that has to be done, I do it. And I eventually get myself to the Remington, they used to call it. But I'm always having ideas, and I am like, I will jot them down. I will shout them into the phone. I'll do something like that. I mean, they're just like scattershot. I have files and files of ideas, but mostly if I'm focused on something, I'll sit down and I'll do it. And I'll tell you, as a writer, that when you can get into the alpha state, I call it, where everything else is shut out and you're really just doing the job and you're living with the characters, or you're living with the task. If you're writing for somebody, you're living with that person's character, their persona they use on stage. That's really fulfilling and fabulous. And the kind of writing I do, it's very collaborative. So I get to be in a room with funny people, or in the last year, it's been on a screen with funny people and no pants, which if I don't stand up and do a Jeffrey Toobin, I'm okay. But I love the Zooming, but it is fun to be in the room with people.
What has the past year been like for you, and what is your sort of takeaway or perhaps advice, from that?
Well, I've been very lucky because writers can sit there, and pound away on the keys and get paid. And so I've been very lucky. People who have to actually go out and deal with the public have a hard time. People who are performance oriented and it's been murder for them, and so a lot of things have happened virtually to try and fill that slack. And I've been very lucky in that I've been involved in that kind of stuff, but the writing and development and stuff goes on. But so there's been a lot of. I've been at home with the 15-year-old pug who's very gassy. There on the floor near me, I can see now with a little like a blue cloud around her. She's very gassy. But I've missed the hands-on stuff. Last night we streamed the Producers Guild Awards, which is a show that I write, and we did it virtually this year, and it was 90 minutes. It was very slick, but going to the thing and having the opening night energy and hearing the audience is different from this. Was like making a movie. Every day we shot somebody else, and they were in the can, and so it's not. I didn't get into show business for that. I'd much rather have the pressing of flesh.
Sure. Are you still active? You must read a lot of news articles. You must be very on top of the current events of the world.
Well, I always was a news junkie. So it was at one point where I was audited by the IRS because they said they didn't believe anybody could subscribe to 67 different magazines. They thought if I was trying to get away with that, I was obviously hiding something else, and so they didn't find anything because I wasn't. But I always was a news junkie. Now, of course, I don't have to be a hoarder. I can do it all online, and I do a lot of it. And that's because for a long time I was writing for people who needed stuff about the day's events, so I had to be hip to the day's events. I don't have. Doesn't obtain so much anymore. But and of course, nobody wants to joke about the day's events because everybody is so fucking sensitive.
Yes, it's true.
You just don't know whose toes you're treading on. It's gotten to the point where it's absolutely crazy. I was reading something today about. Billy also did Sammy Davis, and
yes.
Has been criticized lately. And today somebody criticized him because they discovered that he used to do an impression of Muhammad Ali. Well, that was never in blackface, and he did it. It was like it was Muhammad Ali. It wasn't, he was a famous person, and Muhammad Ali loved it. And in fact, when they had a big roast, and Billy was not that big a deal, Muhammad Ali asked to have him on the show because he thought it was so funny. So, but it's gone, the context has disappeared and everything is out of proportion. And we deal with the internet, which is narcissism central. And people who are keyboard warriors and are outraged get a chance to write what they want with no filter. And it's the only place on the planet where everybody's first draft is published.
Right.
Yes.
Nobody gets to revise anything. You just there it is, and it's not so that makes it's difficult to come up with comedy stuff that isn't going to get you firebombed. So it's just as well that I'm not I don't have to. The people who crank it out for Seth and Trevor and Conan and Corden and all those guys and Samantha Bee, the one girl. I don't envy them those jobs because it's like, what do? You have to have somebody who really does have, like John Oliver, who just has got balls of steel.
Yes, he's done some.
Yeah.
What a year he's had.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And Bruce, you were. That's going to be our hashtag, balls of steel. That's what we'll call the show. It has not all been. No offense. You have been behind some of the most infamous Academy Award moments as well. You were there for the Snow White, Rob Lowe extravaganza, and David Letterman, and that was your first one.
The first one. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Can you believe? My first one is officially writing. I had written for people earlier on shows, but this is my first one as a credited writer on the show.
And what were you thinking as you watched?
Well, I've written a play about it actually, but which once this is all over, perhaps will get staged. But the producer was a very flamboyant guy named Alan Carr, and the whole opening section, which was where Rob Lowe and Snow White were, was imported from San Francisco from a show called Beach Blanket Babylon, which ran in San Francisco, as you may know, for 40 years. And this was like it had been running 20 years when this happened. And their show was about Snow White going to Hollywood and meeting famous people. And he thought that was a great thing. Just bring it down because it had a whole satirical thing to it. And then cast it with famous people in Hollywood. And I don't know who they had. I mean, they didn't, at San Francisco, they had somebody being a movie star. But at the Oscars, Alan got Rob Lowe to come out and do a number because Rob Lowe wanted to show off his musical comedy skills. And it just because it was Snow White, it got there was very involved legal proceedings that had to do with it, and it just as it went away 2 weeks after, the Rob Lowe sex tapes surfaced from the Democratic Convention the year before, where he was with the underage girl and he and his friend, and so every story led with Rob Lowe, most recently seen dancing with Snow White in the infamous and lawsuit embroiled number from the Academy, was today revealed to have done a sex tape with a 17-year-old girl in a hotel room. Well, need I add, it ballooned from there. So, but at the time, watching at the time, I thought to myself, there's a word in Yiddish, ungeblasen. It's overblown, basically. But, it's not used Yiddish is very graphic. And so when you say in English, the number was really overblown, it doesn't have the effect. In Yiddish, you would say, ach, ungeblasen, which is really the way to describe it. Ungeblasen. It was so much. It was beyond overblown. And we were watching it in dress rehearsal, and we were looking at each other and saying, Lily Tomlin was following it to welcome people, and we were looking at each other and saying, "This is Titanic,
well,
Titanic '88." And
it's Hollywood folklore.
Yeah. But we didn't, I said, look, it's no worse than any other. There were lots of bad numbers on the Oscars before and after. I mean, the year before, they put Terry Garr on an airplane wing to sing Flying Down to Rio with a bunch of Rockettes. I don't know what that was in salute, but it was. But Rio didn't sue. So,
right. Now, are you fluent in Yiddish?
Nah, I'm in Yiddish words and expressions. Okay. I mean, I don't think I could put a sentence together.
Because I remember when I was in college, I don't know why this came up, but my grandmother spoke Yiddish, and I wanted to learn a statement that would be useful, like if there's one statement that I would be able to use in my life, what would it be? And she said this, and I put it like on this was before Post-it notes, but whatever you use, I guess it was a piece of paper and a tape on the refrigerator. And she taught me this saying that was, Dein Kapsel wachsen wie a Zibbel in Drehed.
Well, your head is...
Your head, like an onion, it should grow in the ground.
Oh, wow. Your head should grow in the ground.
Very useful.
Very useful. Well, I had a friend... my mother said her mother spoke, who died when my mother was 8 years old, spoke a lot of Yiddish, and she retained it all. And she would say, I don't know where I know this, but she would use these phrases all the time. But at one point, I was with somebody who was a Yiddish speaker, and we were looking at the Forwitz, which is the Forward, the Jewish newspaper in Brooklyn, and it had the TV listings in Yiddish. And I'll never forget, I said, so what time tonight? And she said, well, at 7:30 for Lessack auf Beaver. So now I know that in Yiddish. And I just did a Hollywood Squares benefit, and Jerry Mathers was one of the squares, the Beaver.
Oh.
Oh my God.
Yes.
That's brilliant.
He said, "I've heard it all now." When I said it's taken 50 years, but I've heard it all now.
Wow. Wow.
What projects can we look for you when things are you're writing? You
I
go
got
on the
nothing to
road?
plug. You know, I've written a bunch of stuff, but there's nothing that can be announced yet because we haven't made any of the actual deals. We're in development on a bunch of stuff. So
Well,
I wish I had something to plug, but I ain't got nothing. And as performances, I'm supposed to be in Lauderdale next Thanksgiving. But look for me. Look for me when leaves are falling. Think of me in Lauderdale, because nobody's booking anything quite yet because they haven't figured out how many people they can actually have and what their financial models would be as a result. So,
what did you think about Mayor de Blasio's announcement today that Broadway would reopen in September?
Well, I think it's easy for him to say, but well, I like they say that, but then they don't explain how that's possible.
Right.
I think they say that because they want to gin up the interest in people going back to see shows, but I don't know with what, with a magic spray that they're going to put in the ventilation system. And how are people going to feel about? If something is doing half capacity, most shows don't pay off unless they're very close to capacity. So
that's correct.
Like Hamilton, instead of 3 million, we'll do $1.5 million. But Hamilton's already made a fortune, so I don't know. My personal guess is that there has to be something big that will bring people back to the theater. And the only thing I see on the horizon doing that is Hugh Jackman in The Music Man with Sutton Foster. And they're talking about previewing in December and opening in February of 22. So, because I don't think that, people are going to go, oh my God, I've got to see Hadestown. It's back. I don't think, apologies to Hadestown, but I don't think there will be that. They'll be clamoring on the fence to get into Hadestown to be socially distanced and whatever else is going to be going on for $150, $200. I don't know if that's going to be happening, but something with a big star and a name brand and that sounds like a good time and an event because it's new will bring people in, I think.
Yep.
Agreed.
I agree.
Well, I don't know what he knows that we don't know, de Blasio. Maybe he's going into Music Man. I don't know.
Well, I was surprised that he made that statement because it seems very early. Even national tours are talking about November, and he's 2 months ahead of that. And Broadway theaters are so compact. And most shows, if you're not at full capacity, they can't afford it. So I was surprised. I love that they have announced that there's going to be vaccination sites for Broadway performers and workers specifically. That I love because obviously many of them are under the age bracket that they could have been vaccinated already. So that's fantastic. We'll see, I guess, because so much of it also is based on tourism, because tourism is a huge Broadway ticket, and who's
they're not coming to the city, right? They're not gonna.
Yeah.
Those shows, the behemoths that the Wickeds and things like that depend on the tourists are those people won't be there. Right. I think he's probably saying it just to kind of as part of the life is coming back. And no one's holding him to it. He's not going to get fined if Broadway doesn't open in September. So he can say it may be in response to all the equity rules that came out last week that were so hysterically out of touch. And
oh, really?
Oh, man.
Oh, yes. I signed a lot.
Crazy stuff. You could never do a show.
Yeah, I signed a lot of petitions that were as a member of Equity. I'm sure that was my friend saying can you sign this because this contract, these rules are ridiculous.
Insane. I mentioned to I think it must have been Jerry Zaks, who had Mrs. Doubtfire coming in, and who early in the pandemic had said to me, "Well, I'm working on a socially distant staging of Mrs. Doubtfire," and I said, "So the irony here is you're working on a show about a guy who only wants to be closer to his kids, but they have to be on the opposite side of the stage."
Right. They have to,
Oh my God.
20 feet apart.
Yeah, right.
I know. Well, people forget that we're thinking about the audience being socially distanced, but what about
Right.
the actors? It's
That's one of the equity things. Is like you have to be behind a shield, a plexiglass thing. I mean, every show will look like Spamalot.
right. Unbelievable. Wow. Yeah, crazy. Well, Bruce, it is such a pleasure. First of all, it's great to see you because I haven't seen you in far too long.
Are you out here? I'm sorry. I'm totally
here. I'm right near
you're
Larchmont. Yeah, I'm here.
But you're in Jersey.
He's in Jersey.
I'm in Jersey, but I'm from Patterson.
That's right, Patterson. And I went to William Patterson.
Oh my God! I know. Well, it was Patterson State Teachers College when I was growing up.
That's right.
It became William Patterson College.
now it's
William. A renaissance because of Hamilton. Because Hamilton is Patterson.
Yes, but it's a strange thing because I've become very used to staying at home and ordering groceries in and everything else, and we're fully vaccinated in this house a month ago, but I still I stay home. So I'm not saying that that's healthy.
Because because there are a lot of people out there who haven't been vaccinated, and it's okay to deal with them in the open air with masks. But when you're sitting in a room and it's closed and the air is the same air is circulating, you don't know who they are. There's a kind of like I worked so hard to be okay. I don't know if they have, and now I'm basically at their behest.
Yes.
And so, there's a fear about putting yourself in as the shrinks say, in somebody else's what do they call it? Effect. You're in somebody else's effect.
Because we don't know yet, even if you're vaccinated, you could still get it. So anyway, it's a crazy time. It's a crazy time.
My lights they go on. They go on.
I know.
But when you are in New York or in Jersey, we can go to Patterson and get some, I don't know, Middle Eastern food. That's what I think of when I think of Patterson.
I mean, it's very Muslim.
It's and their food it's good Middle Eastern food. So come on back home.
There you go.
Come back home. Eat something with raisins in it. That's
perfect.
They love raisins. That cuisine is raisin heavy.
That's
I love, except for the prune quality that it also brings. But I still love the raisins.
There you go.
Well, you're literally a comedic legend, icon. So thank you for spending time with us. You've written the jokes
good. It was so good to see you.
It's good to see you too. And remember, I'm big in Japan.
Those t-shirts are
$100.
Hey, Godzilla versus Kong will get me into the theater. Because it'll be the first thing on a big screen that has, and that's why you go to the movies.
There you go.
Yes.
Godzilla
for Nomadland. Right. That's
Thank you so much for spending time with us. And stay safe. And I hope to see you soon.
All right. Bye.
Mwah.
Bye. Mwah. So much fun, Lee.
That was fun. We needed some levity.
We sure did.
We just needed a little levity, and we got it.
We sure did. We sure got it.
So next week on Quarantine Cabaret and Cocktails, we have cast members from the Broadway revival of of Once on This Island. We already did the Color Purple. Woo!
I said the same thing the other day.
Once on This Island, because they've just released the most stunning vinyl double album cast recording. It's gorgeous. And so we've partnered with their label, Broadway Records, to have them on. And we're super excited. It's a great cast. And we're going to talk about the show, about the album and all that. So that's next week.
I want to
And
know about the goat.
exactly.
There was a live goat in that show.
And it was a cute goat.
It was so cute. And a chicken.
Cute. You kind of wanted to feed the goat,
I did.
right?
The goat had like blocking, like it went upstairs and it went downstairs. It was a very obedient.
If I had $1. But anyway, this has been lovely. Thank you for spending time with us. And Robert, I'm glad you made it home safe after the horrific car ride home.
I text him, I'm like, I'm not panicking, but as you can tell, I am totally panicking. I will do the show right from the car.
There was a car accident on the freeway.
That's
and, you know, Jersey does as Jersey does. But I'm glad you're home, safe.
And we'll be here next week.
We'll be here next week. So take care, wear your mask, stay safe.
Thanks,
Bye.
everybody.